All right, how are you guys doing today? I am Tayler Saunders, and I'm here with someone you might recognize, Will McLaughlin. Will, can you tell us where are you from?
Well, I'm from Crystal, New Mexico. I went to high school in Grants, New Mexico, graduated from there, but I'm originally from the Navajo Reservation. Grew up there all my life, and that's where I call home, so it's a nice little place.
And that's where you started your track career, is that correct?
Not exact. Well, yeah, actually it was. It's kind of a funny story how I became a track athlete was in 8th grade, I was actually going to play baseball, and one day my brother and I, we were just hanging out, helping our parents out with some stuff, and my brother and I got a little too aggressive, and he ended up pushing me, and I went to break my fall, ended up snapping my wrist a bit, got put in a cast, and so I didn't get to play baseball that year, and by the time my cast came off, my dad, who was coaching the middle school track team at the time, asked me if I wanted to just go out and try running because I'd been a distance runner most of my life. So I said yeah, and that's kind of how it all started. Just been running track ever since, all because of my twin brother. Yeah, twin brother fracturing my wrist, running track now here at Chadron State College. So
hey, that was a very lucky wrist break.
Yeah, still hurt. I mean, still a little mad about it, but still love the kid. So
good, you couldn't really get rid of him at that point.
No,
so.
yeah.
And what events do you do?
I run the 400 hurdles as well. I started hurdling last year. I've only ran about 4 races. Not the greatest at it, still got some work to do. There's some girls on the team that can actually hurdle a little bit quicker than me, one of those being Shelby Bosner, a stud athlete we have on our team. But that's always what I've been around is the 4 and the 400 hurdles. Used to run the 8 when I was younger, but just wasn't big on going for 2 laps and hurting that much, so dropped it down to 1 and have been doing it for a good number of years now.
Hey, you run a lot more than I do, so you got that going for you. What got you into media or interviews that you do now?
Honestly, it was just something I fell into. Growing up, I did a lot of mechanical stuff with my oldest brother, and that was something I really wanted to work to, was more mechanical engineering or anything around automotive. But going into high school, my dad's been a coach for as long as I can remember. I think the only point he wasn't a coach was the first 2 years of my life, but I've always been around sports, basketball, volleyball, football, you name it. It's just, I've always been around that, and I've always had a thing for it. Growing up, my dad made us listen to ESPN radio, and when I was younger, I didn't care for it, but as I got older, it was just something I just really enjoyed listening to, and I finally got the opportunity to become a broadcaster or work with it my junior year of high school. They had a program where they let students, work the cameras, and along with that, do broadcasting. And originally, I started off as just a camera guy, was working, and the original broadcaster is a senior. He was sick that night, so I was asked to fill in. Did well enough, and they gave me the lead position and pretty much worked it 2 years of high school, and then came here and just kind of asked around until I met my boss, Daniel, and from there started working as a broadcaster and have been doing it ever since. So it's just, again, like track, it was something I fell into. It wasn't really something I was going to think about doing for the rest of my life, but here I am.
Your life is a series of unfortunate events turning out to be fortunate.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny.
Broke your wrist, some kid got sick, and here you are.
Yeah, Chadron
College
State
athlete.
and running, yeah. But that's just something I've always been around, and I do thank my dad and my parents for most of that. My speaking skills, I get a lot from them because they're both teachers, and it was growing up, they're like, you need to speak up or you're not gonna do well and people are just gonna walk all over you. And I'm like, all right. Yeah.
Good advice, for sure.
Oh, it's always been great advice that I've used in almost everyday situations.
Now, with our jobs, we get to see a lot of cool things happen in athletics here at Chadron State. What was your favorite moment this year?
Oh, man, there's a number of them. Football was a lot of fun. John McClain, seeing him as a quarterback in that offense, true ace spread style that they ran the ball, threw it all over the place. Watching them was a lot of fun. That would be a high moment for me in the fall. Volleyball, young team like that, bringing in a new coach, Chris Wells, he did really well. Watching him as a coach and seeing the athletes play, that's always been fun on the indoor part of it. On the winter basketball, there was a good moments. The girls, the women's team beating UCCS, a number one team in the RMAC. That night was incredible, you know.
They surprised a lot of people for a few games.
Seeing the older athletes like Kate Simonton and Hattie Guzman, you know, show their leadership. It's never been one specific thing, just because a number of these athletes that are my age or just a little bit older that I've already left, I've been around a number of them for the years. So, you know, seeing them all play and broadcast for them was honestly for me a privilege and just something that I was happy to do. Another moment for me, like not as a broadcaster but as an athlete, is just seeing my track team or my teammates really do so well this year with such a young team. We lost, I think, 18 seniors, a number of them All-Americans, and to see how we as a team grew was a lot of fun. My coach, Brad Gamble, and the assistant, Brian Mitigovich, both in their first years, like true head and assistant coach. They did well. They're funny guys to be around. So watching them and, you know, being around those athletes has always been fun. And then for softball, the highlight was probably this past weekend in the triple header they had. You know, they took on two really good teams, but that team never really showed any signs of ever quitting. You know, even at times when they were down or if it just looked like it was no chance for them to do well, they kept their heads up. And on top of that, seeing Jessica Eatman get RMAC Player of the Week and Collegiate Player of the Week in the same weekend to end out her senior year was pretty cool to watch. And
it is pretty nice for her, yeah.
But again, all the things I've seen this year and the last 3 years, there's not one specific moment that I could narrow down as my favorite. It's all been fun.
Yeah, there's definitely been things that have stood out in the last couple years.
Yeah.
Well, and just this year, like you were talking about softball this last weekend with the last game, so it was raining and we were down and they almost pulled it off too. Everyone was like, the lightning delay, and it was
watching
a freak
that
game.
Yeah, it was.
Sure.
It went from being sunny that morning with the first game till the end. It just got out of control. You know, after the games ended, doing cleanup and getting everything put away was definitely drenching with how wet it got. But you know, like I said, it was a lot of fun, and seeing how all the athletes went out, even just for some of them on a high note, it was pretty cool to see.
Yep, it's been an interesting year because a lot of the athletes that I know as friends and even just as peers, a lot of them are leaving or graduating, so we won't have. I mean, I think as far as like my opinion goes, we have all new teams for the most part. They're all very young in every single sport. We've lost some very not lost, but they move on because of graduation and stuff. Some very predominant players, talented athletes, in the seniors that have graduated this year. I mean, for football, Pat and John McLean, those two quarterbacks. Our basketball team, I mean, half of them are graduating.
It seems like,
And I'm really looking forward to the young guys who are supposed to come out next year for basketball because, I mean, what I've heard, they're going to be really good, which is exciting.
Yeah, and you know, for all the sports that we've seen through this year with them losing athletes, it's definitely a high amount. You know, with football, I believe it was 18 or 16 seniors, number of them talented athletes, and you know, highlighting the quarterback position with Pat O'Boyle and John McLean, seeing them air out the ball and run like they did was fun. But I think next year, just like every year from our standpoint as just working behind the scenes, that there's always going to be something surprising that happens. You know, I think the biggest surprising moment for me was how well the women's basketball team did there late in the stretch, seeing them come on like that with the leadership they had on the last go around. Them having a young squad should be interesting to watch. Men's basketball, you know, with the seniors they had, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of us expected them to do better than what they actually did, but still they did a number of things this year that just made it fun to watch. And one thing that I've noticed with this community, and this was something I didn't really think was possible, and it was after the passing of Fatima on the softball team, how this community came together, and a number of athletes have highlighted it, especially the softball team. But the way these athletes treated each other, not just as individuals or peers, but as family members away from home, was really fun to see, and it really let me know as a broadcaster and as a student athlete that we're not just here to go to school, get an education, and do our sport. We actually have made the most of everything that we've been given and the opportunities, we take them. So that's something I think that I've really enjoyed this year as well, is just seeing how well this team and how this school acts as a community and not just individuals.
I would definitely agree. Well, I'm looking forward to working with you next year. We'll get to see a lot of fun, surprising,
exciting things.
Young new teams, as all of our teams are kind of
starting to change up again.
Starting the whole cycle over, getting all the new people in. But thank you so much. And your season's over, so good luck next year.
Yeah, try to enjoy my summer, get ready for the next go-around as an athlete and as a broadcaster. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. And thank you guys for watching all the videos we put out. Have a good summer.
Yep, enjoy it and go CSC.